Hey guys, J-Man here. Welcome to my video. It has been quite a while, but I'm finally back with a brand new music review. Today we will talk about DIR EN GREY and their 29th single Ningen kaburu. People who are familiar with my backstory should know how important this band is for me. My personal history aside, their previous single Utafumi was also the very first review topic on this channel. The song was pretty aggressive and very chaotic, but it surprised with a really catchy chorus. Since then, 2 whole years have passed and their Der lange cover Easy Make Easy Mark was pretty much their only studio recording in between. In the meantime, DIR EN GREY had this really nostalgic live trip through the whole discography with these Mode Off themed tours. Now people may wonder if revisiting their old work had any influence on their new direction. We will find this out together right after the intro. As always, we will start with the general release informations. Ningen kaburu was released on the 25th of April by their loyal label Firewall Div. The single features 3 tracks with a playtime of 13 minutes. The physical release comes in a regular version as well as in a limited edition with an additional bonus DVD or Blu-ray. The extra disc contains 8 live tracks and studio footage from the recording session. The promo video for the title track isn't included and will probably be released on a PV compilation on a later date. European fans have to import the single or purchase a digital version, which was released worldwide on iTunes, Amazon Music and similar services by the European distributor Okami Records. Ningen kaburu starts with an acoustic teaser which wakes the false impression of an upcoming ballad. Tension breaks when a massive guitar groove hits the listener. Kyo jumps right into it with an aggressive rap shouting style which we haven't heard in years from him. It isn't directly comparable, but still this vocal delivery reminds me of tracks like Mr. Newsman or the 3D Empire. So yeah, you heard it right, DIR EN GREY seem to go back to their famous or infamous nu metal era. Of course, production-wise, they stick to the sound which they pushed since the release of Rinkaku or Unraveling. So the instruments sound really sharp and powerful, so you don't have to be scared that it will be an error like, let's say, the marrow of a bone. After the verse, we get a first taste of this melodic chorus, and at this point, I wanna be honest with you, I kinda thought it was average at best. It kinda seemed like their take on Sustain the Untruth 2.0. However, this wouldn't really be a DIR EN GREY song if I did enjoy it right from the start. So naturally, I listened to this track over and over and over. And yeah, just like Utafumi, it started to really massively grow on me. I really can't get this melody out of my head anymore. I have to say they really nailed it on this one. The track continues with the second verse, and here Kyo throws in some hysterical and chaotic vocals, which we didn't hear since Withering to Death. Sure, this chorus seems rooted in their modern orchestra sound, but this streamlined songwriting, these nu metal influences, and especially Kyo's vocal style really revoke these memories of albums like Vulgar or Withering. Before we continue, I want to point out that the unsung hero of this track is probably Shinya. In the posts I read, he didn't get nearly as much credit as he deserves because I think his strumming sets some really interesting accents in this song. The single continues with the rework of the band classic Ash. Before we discuss this particular interpretation, we may want to go back and discuss this whole context of this track in their discography. Ash is basically one of their oldest songs. After the Karma and Aoi-tsuki demo tape, they went on to record this track for this weird indie compilation called Behind the Mask Volume 2 Solfens Terre. 1 year later they already re-recorded this track for their famous Kaete If Trance VHS video compilation. This was probably the most unpolished version, and it really followed this chaotic sound of the other tracks on this videotape. Besides being one of the oldest DIR EN GREY tracks, Ash is also one of the very first ones to be reworked as a B-side for a single. This was done in particular for the Miyaku single back in 2000. However, those changes weren't nearly as drastic as modern DIR EN GREY reinterpretations. It was basically just a bass-driven and modernized retake with some lyrical adjustments. With this out of the way, we can finally focus on this latest version. The first major difference are the missing iconic electronic elements at the beginning of the song. It's a kind of weird decision because those industrial sounding elements were part of all 3 previous versions, and they became kind of a trademark element. However, apart from this, the changes aren't as massive as, let's say, the change to Sun, Karma or Tsumi to Patsu. The core riffs remain intact and the overall song structure was handled with respect. Especially this really memorable opening riff follows the original closely. The most obvious change is this newly added acoustic bridge, which works really well and adds a new dynamic to the track. Of course, Kyo's vocals have really matured since the 90s, and he doesn't really shy away from showing off his new vocal techniques. Still, there are some parts, like especially the pre-chorus, where he really pays homage and breathes this atmosphere of the original and stays close, which creates an interesting clash between modern and past DIR EN GREY. Before we move on, once again I have to point out that even in this rework are a few references to their Referring to Death era. Just listen to and I probably have a lack of words, I would say this childish vocals of Q at 42 seconds. Those definitely remind me of those good old days. Last, we got a live recording of Utafumi from a show at ZEP Tokyo in October 2017. The performance sounds really tight and convincing. However, the market is really oversaturated with DIR EN GREY live recordings and DVDs, and so I would have probably preferred a remix like the Yusuke Suga version of Revelation of Mankind on the previous Utafumi single. It really doesn't make much sense for a visually focused band like DIR EN GREY to release an audio-only live recording, unless it's a really rarely live performed track like Kyakuyu Tano Keloid Milk, which appeared on the Lotus single. Generally speaking, I enjoyed Ningen wo kaburu all the way through. As I mentioned before, it took me a while to really understand and fully grasp the title track, but that's really why I never judged a DIR EN GREY song after the first listening. Sure, it may not be of the same caliber like, let's say, in Saku and Obscure or even in Vinushka, but it will definitely find its place in the discography. I heard many fans complain about the fact that DIR EN GREY went back to their older style, and to some degree I can understand this opinion. DIR EN GREY are really famous for constantly exploring new directions and reinventing their own sound. And yes, this track is basically a fusion of the Arke sound, vulgar and Referring to Death. However, we shouldn't forget that DIRO always picked their most streamlined songs as the singles for their albums and saved their more complex material for the long player. I mean, Those in Green and Glasskin weren't exactly representative for Ouroboros, and also we didn't expect such an experimental and avant-garde-esque monster like Dumspiro Sparrow after listening to Hakeshisa to Lotus and different sense. So at this point I really don't feel concerned. I'm pretty sure DIR EN GREY will surprise us on the next record and also add some new elements to the mix. In the meantime, I will lean back and really enjoy these references to their own band's history. After all, those mentioned nu metal era albums were my gateway to the sound of DIR EN GREY and Visual Kei in general. So yeah, for these reasons I can give Ningen wo kaburu a really strong 9 out of 10 points. I really learned, and I want to repeat myself, I learned to love this song, and also the Ash remake is a great update to their modern sound. My only real complaint is the second B-side, which I don't care much about. This being said, we already came to the end of this review. I hope you enjoyed my video, and if you did, please leave me a like and make sure to discuss the record in the comment section. As always, for more content about Japanese music, you can subscribe to this channel or follow me on social media like Twitter, Facebook or Reddit. If you want to go the extra mile, you can also support me on Patreon. Every donation is appreciated, but it isn't a must. Also make sure to check out some of my other videos like these two down below. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.